This is Ryan Pierce, host of Completely Serious. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Emily, host of Beauties and Headcanons here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come and check out my show, Beauties and Headcanons, where we talk about nerdy theories, games, TV shows, books, movies, you name it. We're here to talk nerdy to you. A new show comes out every Friday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello everyone, it's No Filter Friday, and I'm actually drinking tea today so we can spill it on this horrible hot mess that has become Brett Ratner's current career. The reason why I wanted to do, out of everyone, all of these sexual misconduct allegations that are coming out, the reason why I wanted to do Brett Ratner today is because Brett Ratner's situation is the one that, touched me personally, I guess you could say, because when it was just Harvey Weinstein, it was like, oh, yeah, everybody knows that, it was more shocking that, the news outlets actually printed people's stories more so than being shocked that Weinstein does things to people, because he does. However, so to get into Brett Ratner, the LA Times put together, I think, like a dozen women or so to come out against him and say, oh, he did X, Y, and Z. The biggest two are Olivia Munn, because she wrote in a book that years ago that the story that happened to her, she went into his trailer because they called her in there for some reason, and she closes the door behind her. He turns around and he's got a shrimp cocktail in one hand and feverishly jerking off in the other. And by the time she can be like, oh my God, what's going on? And back out the door, he ejaculated on her, and she just ran out and told a PA, the gang boss, or so, he just ejaculated on me. And they're like, he does that. It's this thing. It's like, what is with all of these people and the fetish for masturbating in front of people? It's so weird. So, with that being said, the other one is Natasha Henstridge that came out. Let me back it up. So Olivia Munn writes this in her book, but she doesn't say who it was. After the book comes out, a bunch of people read it. Brett goes, it was me. It was me. That was me. I ejaculated on Olivia Munn. We banged. It was a great time. And she was like, seriously, dude? Seriously? That's crazy. So he self-admitted doing this, which is kind of interesting because when Natasha Henstridge came out and said, yeah, when I was 19, back when he was just directing music videos, we're all kicking it at this apartment. There's a bunch of people over. We're watching something. She falls asleep. Everybody leaves. He gets up, or she gets up, is like, hey, I'm going to go now. Bye. And he blocks the door and forced her to perform oral sex on him. That's what she says. And Ratner's attorney, Marty Singer, completely denies any and all allegations that have come out against Brett, which I don't really know how as an attorney you do, considering he admitted freely and openly what he did to Olivia Munn and said, oh, hey, that was me. And how are you supposed to be taken seriously that you didn't do something like that when you just said that you did? Weird. Maybe be careful who you ejaculate on. They might have a career just as big as yours and they can do something about it. So, which brings me to my next point. I think it's kind of interesting that Marty Singer, the attorney, and Bryan Singer, the director, supposedly have no relation, except they're all in this cycle of sexual misconduct, sex crimes, and lawsuits and stories just disappearing. Supposedly not related. We'll see. Who knows? So the next item on the list is, this is where it gets into my life. Gal Gadot drops out of the Jewish Federation's award dinner that they are having honoring Brett Ratner, and Gal Gadot was supposed to be presenting him with like the Life Award or something. They didn't really say what it was. What had happened was, like a month prior, this event was October 29th, so it was, 2 weeks ago. Like a month prior to that, in September, Brett Ratner asked my boyfriend, Steven, hey, why don't you do like 10 minutes of stand-up and open the entire ceremony? It's this big, giant dinner in the ballroom, award ceremony dinner that they're having in the ballroom of the Lowe's Hotel, which is just down the street over here at Hollywood and Highland, where, they have all of the Oscar things. And he was like, yeah, sure, totally. Just call my manager and set it up. They set it up. They put the program together. They gave us a table. We invited our friends. Be like, hey, we have a table for 10. And it's just me and Steven going like, why don't you come? Why don't you come? Like, I invited all kinds of people. Steven invited people. We were like all set to go. And then, yeah, we invited friends the week before. And we're all set to go. And we're sitting at Chipotle, our favorite Chipotle, on Saturday, like brunch time. And we get this, because we all have Deadline and Variety and Hollywood Reporter, like all these places on our phone, we get a notification that not only did Gal Gadot drop out of giving Brett this award, that she released a statement saying that, we need to take sexual allegations seriously. And it's, she went on Instagram and did this whole barrage. You can go look at it if you want to. So it's not like she was just like, oh yeah, can't do it. Sorry, bye. She like put a statement out, which is really, really interesting because the media tried to say, the Spin Zone tried to be like, oh, it's a scheduling conflict. She's like tied up in China on a press tour. Like she can't make it. She said that, she might have scheduling conflicts. So that's the story that got out immediately. So then she gets on Instagram. It's like, no. And like the day before she was like, thanks, China, done. See you later. So she was finished with that. And that's when she releases a statement about how, everyone should be believed and these things are serious and the tides are turning in Hollywood, blah, 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 blah. If you want to read it, go look at it. So we're like, oh my God, like Wonder Woman herself is saying that this isn't kosher, for a lack of a better word. And then it gets worse. The LA Times puts out a thing saying, we've got, a dozen women waiting in the wings to accuse Brett Ratner. We're putting it all together right now. Stay tuned, folks. And we were like, oh, Lord, have mercy. What's going to happen? And we still didn't know, like, which way this was going to go because all the stuff was super new. Like, Harvey Weinstein was an open secret, but Brett's been a bachelor forever. He's always been single. Like, of course, he's not going to have, a pious, squeaky clean background. Like, he's just not. And I used to see Brett like a couple times a week because I used to live across the street from the Directors Guild. I would see him all the time. Never had a problem with it. And I was like, oh gosh, like, which way is this going to go? Is this going to be like a real big blow up thing? Or is it going to get pushed to the side? What's going to happen? So Stephen called his manager's like, oh my God, what do we do? And they're like, well, let's wait for a minute and see what happens. Like, dropping out the day before an event when somebody asks you to do something and you agree to do it is not like the coolest thing in the world. So let's slow a roll and just see how this plays out for a little while. Like, okay, biting our nails, but okay. And then it gets worse. The Jewish Federation, I think like the Times of Israel, all of these Jewish and Israeli media outlets and organizations were like, we stand behind Gal Gadot. I mean, who doesn't stand behind Wonder Woman? So there's that. We stand behind Gal Gadot. This is unacceptable. What else did they say? We go where Gal Gadot goes, essentially. So now it's not only just like the in-town like trades media that's like turning against Brett Ratner. It's the entire Jewish media and then some. Like, it's really, really getting ugly. It's like, oh gosh, you can't do this. Like, you have to call and cancel. So Stephen called his manager, was like, I'm sick. I can't do it. It's like, okay, fine. And thank God he did it then, because in the dead of night, the organization that was putting it on uninvited the media. It was like, oh, there's no more seats for media inside the event anymore. You can't come. You're uninvited. Bye. And they're like, what? And this started a whole other tirade, but we'll get to that in a second. The windfall from that has been really serious as well. And then after they uninvite the media, they're like, oh, the carpet is only for donors to the Jewish Federation. Nobody else is doing the carpet. So no coverage, don't come, bye-bye, don't come. So now everyone's avoiding media questions, which has rippled out into the rest of the town because carpets are getting canceled, which is bad news. People are not doing carpet, media's not getting invited because they're trying to duck and dodge these questions, even if they're the innocuous, like, hey, did you know that Harvey Weinstein was doing this? To, hey, so are you a sexual predator? Like, what's going on with you? Like, the whole, like, they're taking down the whole thing. Like, carpets have been quite dry. We were just at a red carpet event for IMAX the other night. It was like one Getty and Wire guy, and that's it. No media outside that. Nobody's getting asked any kind of anything. And I've seen some of my friends be like, well, that work in red carpet media, like that's their business, not like their livelihood business. And they're like, we don't know what to do. Like, this is so unfair. Like, people are trying to ask these questions and it's ruining it for everyone. Like, it's gonna kill an entire industry. Like, we can't not have press. If there's no press, then there's no gonna rely strictly on advertising. No, like that's suicide. That's lunacy. And also, we don't have a dedicated publicist right now. So it was absolutely hairy canary 24 hours before an event that the media is upset, Jewish organizations are upset, Jewish media is upset, Wonder Woman's upset, everyone's upset, everybody's tripping out. It's like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? And we invited our friends. We had to call and be like, hey, so turns out that Brett Ratner's got some sex scandals on his heads. Let's just go to the Mastro's bar and drink our problems away. And that's exactly what we did. We were just like, we're going to go drive past the Lowe's like nothing happened, and we're going to go to Mastro's and stuff our faces and try to forget the PR crisis that we're currently in. Stephen works in children's television. Like, this can't be happening. It was so like, we've never had a PR crisis like that. It was like, oh my gosh, like, media's calling, hey, so are you doing, they said that you're going to be opening this award show ceremony. Like, are you still doing it? Are you still in? Are you down for Brett Ratner? Is he a sexual predator? Like, once the media got uninvited, all bets were off. It was like the floodgates opened and it was anybody's game at that point. So that's how that reached into my life. And I can't imagine like how it's going to keep happening because it's like, there's so many, when Louis C.K.'s things that came out, I know several female comics that have had the same exact problems with Louis C.K. So who knows whose chickens are coming home to roost? We really don't know. But this lady tweeted something the other day that I really, really liked, and I wanted to share with everyone because now that Gal Gadot came out and said, I'm not doing the next Wonder Woman if Brett Ratner's still involved because he did half the financing deal for the first one because he has a development financing deal with Warner Brothers, which they're not renewing, by the way. So I was kind of shocked that I was like, oh my gosh, like this could go badly for her. Like she's Wonder Woman and she's awesome, but that's like a pretty big like statement. Like if he's in, I'm out. Like when you're talking about a film that costs $100+ million and you as an actor that's only been Wonder Woman, that's a little bit uneven. It's like, okay, like we'll see what happens. Turns out Gal Gadot did it. She got Ratner. She says that it was her and like everybody else echoing the same sentiments on the cast and crew because it does take a lot of people to make a movie. But she did it. She got him ixnayed from the project, which is kind of amazing to me because unless there was something in his contract saying that if he had some scandal on his head or something that they could nix him, because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to just quietly bow out of and be like, I'll not make millions of dollars. It's okay. Y'all go ahead. Sorry, my bad. Like that's a lot of money to just ditch on. And a lot of people that work at Rat Pack, that's their paychecks. So #awkward, but she did it. She got it done. And Warner Brothers not only not renewing his development finance deal, he's also off the second Wonder Woman, which is kind of unheard of considering he put all that money in on the first one and it did really, really well. Oh, so let me read you this tweet because that's the moral of this whole story. This tweet came from this woman, Karina Adley McKenzie. She is a TV writer and her handle on Twitter is, maybe you can't see that. Oh, no, you can't. Too much. Well, anyway, her Twitter handle is Cadley Mac. And she said, because someone named Caroline Framke tweeted, stop mourning the work that has been tainted by shitty men and start mourning the work we lost from the people targeted. Which is kind of this like echoing sentiment, and it's wrong, and here's why. So she tweeted back, hundreds of people work on every single production. While House of Cards is dark, the people Kevin Spacey victimized on that set are out of work. An entire crew that can't afford downtime. Ridley Scott has the right idea. I think Netflix, FX, etc. made the right call, but every Spacey star vehicle was some unknown actor's big break, or some camera guy's proudest moment, or some band's shot at a high-profile song placement. It's okay to mourn the work of those people that is now going in the trash. After all, they had to suffer through spending actual time with that goblin. Granted, this is facing towards Kevin Spacey, obviously, but it's the sentiment is the same. There are loads of people that work at Rat Pack, which is probably going to undergo some crazy reorganization, or if it survives at all. And that's those people's paychecks or their mortgages and their kids' tuition and all of that stuff. They're real people that didn't do these things that Brett Ratner did. And they're going to pay the price for it because now they're going to be out millions of dollars because he screwed them on their Wonder Woman 2 deal. So maybe they're getting severance pay. I don't know, but it's a very sad situation that we're going through here in the Hollywood. And this award show season that's coming up, January, February, maybe into March, I haven't looked at the calendar yet, is going to be a wild ride because every single studio, whether they be major, mini major, indie, whatever, are going to be on the whisper campaign so hard of like, oh, did you hear that so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. Because again, excuse me, this town, we're not known for our piety and our, steadfast moral compass. This place is filthy. I love it. It's my filthy place, but it's filthy and we do terrible things to each other, which the tides seem to be turning on now. But again, it takes hundreds, if not thousands of people to put, a movie together, especially a big blockbuster. And that affects everybody. On down, to everybody from the top of the food chain to the bottom. It all works its way down. So with that being said, thanks for joining here on Public House Media. I really enjoy my platform. I think we might do a bonus episode here maybe in the next week or so if we can get it together, and do some joint shows with some other hosts on this network. But next Friday we will come back, and I think next Friday we're either going to get into Kevin Spacey or Louis C.K. I have not decided yet. But thank you for joining me on Public House Media. If this information has been useful to you, share it. If not, if you find it not useless at all, also share it. I'll take shares, whether they be negative or positive. I'm fine with that. See you later, kids.